Welcome, everyone. It's another edition of Tea with Sue. So, as always, I have my cup of tea here today. It is Friday. Oh, what's the date today? Oh, March 20th, one day before spring. So, spring hits tomorrow, and I have to confess I have kind of a spring in my step today because I love spring. Don't you want to just get out and kick up your heels and go have fun and set the work aside and say, forget that, I'm not doing that. Well, that's kind of the way I feel today. So it's even more of a delight to be here with you with Tea with Sue. So to start with, I want to show you, so my tea today is in a fancy china cup with the saucer. Oh, let me show that to you. So this china is actually 100 years old. In fact, it's 101. It was a wedding present from my grandfather to my grandmother, and she never liked it. She never liked this china. It's called Tree of Kashmir, and it was made in England. But of course, it was a beautiful gift, and so she hung on to it for years and years, and then she passed it along to my mother. And when my mother died, it was passed along to me. So I've kept this china, and of course, good china was in the days that I was growing up and long before then. If you had any kind of a British background or United Kingdom background, and your family had that kind of financial well-being, then you would have good china, which was for company and for special occasions like Christmas and Easter and maybe birthdays. And then you'd have everyday china. And the good china was always tucked away safely in a cabinet or a cupboard or something like that, only to be brought out and polished up for these special occasions. And of course, along with that, you would have silverware, and it was literally silver. You could get silverware that was totally, I'm not sure what the content was, but anyway, it was considered sterling silver. And then you could have, what did they call it? Silver plated. That's what it was, silver plated. And so that came out only on special occasions as well, and the crystal glasses and all of that stuff. So I grew up understanding that if you were going to keep a proper household, then you would have these various things. Well, things have changed a lot. And of course, I was so sure, because this china was precious to me because of the history of it, that I'd have somebody to hand it down to. Well, I talked with my kids, and as much as my daughter-in-law loves this china and she's happy that I've hung on to it, they don't want it. And so I'm going, well, what am I going to do? And I couldn't bear to part with it at this point in time. So I just decided, you know what? This quotes good china is going to become my everyday china. Why would I wait to enjoy something special, something that I find quite beautiful, useful as well? Why would I save it? What am I saving it for? And am I saving it for my funeral so they can bring it out and dust it off and say, oh, well, Sue's gone, but we still have the china. Well, I don't know who's going to outlast who, whether the china will still be around after I'm gone or vice versa, if the china will disappear and I'll still be here. I'm not sure. But when I thought about how we delay gratification so often and prevent ourselves from enjoying whatever is right in front of us in the moment, well, it doesn't help in keeping our resilience high and facing things that are particularly tough. So I think I wanted to talk today about the importance of kind of lightening up and saying, okay, let's not make all the burdens all the time so heavy. We can take a moment, we can take 10 seconds, we can take time to just lighten up, whether it's this morning I stood out on my balcony for only about a minute because I was looking at the time and thinking, oh, I need to be on screen here pretty quick. But I just let the sun just flood over me and I felt that warmth on my face and I'm going, oh, this is so lovely. It just took a minute, but it lifted my spirits. All right. So it lightened. If I had any kind of a residue of a dark mood, I didn't, fortunately, this morning. So, but still, it just added to my cup, filled my cup up that much more. So part of what I wanted to do today is I wanted to introduce you to a new household member. He came just a day or so after my birthday last week. So I want you to meet, this is Buddy Bear. So my 91-year-old aunt was telling me that a niece and nephew of hers gave her a great big stuffed bear that she keeps on her bed. And I'm thinking, well, I don't have a bear. And I used to, but I gave it away or something and I didn't have one. And so I happened to be in a store where they had the Valentine bears on sale because, of course, Easter was coming up and it was filled with Easter bunnies and so on. Well, here was Buddy Bear sitting in this clear out cart, looking all forlorn, like, wouldn't somebody take me home? Well, of course, and he has a little heart on his paw at the bottom. And I'm thinking, oh, well, I love the expression on his face. He is so soft and he's infinitely huggable. So I brought him home. So he has been such a source of delight, not only because he's huggable and he's cute and he's low maintenance, that's for sure, but it takes me back to my childhood when just a hug from a cuddle with my granddaughters call them stuffies, a hug from a stuffy was just so comforting. So I keep him around and every now and again when I get up in the morning, oh, Buddy, how are you today? Anybody hearing me probably is thinking that I'm losing it, but I thought about it and I thought, you know what? This past year and some, we have been so deprived of physical contact with other human beings that we need some kind of contact. So Buddy is my contact. So you might have heard the old, okay, Buddy, I'm going to set you down over here because I want to drink my tea. There you go. So he's here with us today. You might have heard the old thing about you need 4 hugs a day for survival. You need 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and you need 12 hugs a day for growth. Well, I don't know about you, but I have a huge deficit when it comes to hugs this past year. So I think I worked it out. So 4 hugs a day for 365 days, that's almost 1,500 hugs. Well, I'd be surprised if I've had 100 hugs in this last year simply because I haven't been seeing people. And I think no wonder the depression rates are up, and the sense of uh, statistics that I read on quotes accidental overdoses and so on, and people are depressed and everybody's concerned about everybody's mental health. Well, it's because we're meant to touch each other and we're not. And so if you live alone, as I do, then that human contact can be very remote and few and far between. So we really need to find kind of antidotes to that and say, well, what can we do? So Buddy has become one of my saviors in that way, because he's imminently huggable, and I can grab a hold of him, and he can sit with me while I'm watching TV or whatever. So we want to, I think, pay attention to, there's another way that we can lighten things up a little bit, and I can have a good laugh with him, and imagine that he's laughing back, and so on. So I think today is all about finding ways to fill your cup, to be able to have some reserves, have some ways that when things get dark or tough or hard, then either we have memories of the good times, we have memories of times when life was easier, life was fun. I love to travel. And so it only takes a second for me to travel back in time to the trip I took to Greece, and all of the sights and sounds and colors there. And if I go back even farther, my grandmother, the one whose China this was, she and I went, I was in my, oh goodness, I think I was 27. And her dream had been to go to the Middle East. She wanted to do a Holy Land tour. And she loved to travel as well, but she hadn't quite decided on when she was going to do this. So when she retired, she had owned her own business, and this was a woman with a grade 4 education, my Grammy Ed, and that was the only formal schooling that she had. But life taught her a lot, and she paid attention as life went by. Well, she ended up having a series of cafes and businesses like that. And the last one, the highways department bought her property. So she shut down the cafe after 13 years. And at the time, she was 75. Well, she didn't know what to do with herself. She was lost. And it was, well, all I've ever done my whole life is work. And I don't know what I'm going to do now. And she was concerned about it. You know, she was worried. So because let's face it, work can be our identity. And in those days, particularly, that was it. If she wasn't busy doing something, then she felt kind of useless. So I proposed, I was between careers at the time, and I said, well, Grammy, had you always wanted to go to the Holy Land, so why don't we plan a trip? Well, I said, you're retiring anyway, and this would be a perfect time. I have time, and we could go. So we did. And what a grand adventure we had. Well, I had people in my life who were saying to me, well, Sue, aren't you afraid your grandmother's not going to be able to keep up with you? Oh, I laughed. I said, I'm not sure I can keep up with her, because she was pretty spry. And when she took a notion to motor on ahead, she was gone. And I'm kind of, whoa, where is she? And so we had the grandest time. And the beauty of the way our brains work is now all of that's in my memory banks, and I can transport myself instantly back to the pyramids when we rode a camel, or we were in, let me think now, it was the Kingdom of Jordan, and we went to the rose city of Petra and rode horses by horseback into the great treasure chest. And so just astounding sights and scents. And I'd never been out of North America by that time, at that time. So it was just a huge change in everything we did and everything we saw. So our memories and the things that we've cherished in our lives and the people that we've cherished in our lives, it just takes like a heartbeat to bring them back to mind and raise us up from wherever we are, so that if we're finding that life is not the way we'd like it, which it hasn't been for this past year, for lots of people, it's been nasty. And but we don't have to stay there. And the more we can bring ourselves up and say, maybe it's not that bad in the whole scheme of things. Maybe this is for some good on planet Earth, that and good will come out of it for all of us. And in the meantime, there's things we can do to just grab hold of ourselves and look at, okay, how do I work with this? I may not be able to do much about what's going on out there, but what can I do for me that would help me change my perspective, would give me a different outlook on life, would just bring me some joy, bring me some happiness. My granddaughters, who are 2.5 years old, came to visit, and I don't think I've laughed and giggled so much previously than when they were here, just in that short span of time that they were with me, because life was endlessly amusing for them. They would find things to do, and then they'd giggle, or they'd just look at me and I'd smile and they'd start to giggle. And I'm going, wow, that's really cool. So being a grandmother is wonderful. I love it. And so we exhausted one another by just going from activity to activity to activity. And of course, they use their imaginations. And so one of the things when I introduced them to Buddy, well, they put Buddy on one of my stools. I have a stool, like a bar stool, that the padded top of it swivels round. And so they found that great delight in putting Buddy on top of the stool. And then one would be on one side and the other girl was on the other side. And then they'd spin Buddy around. Well, of course, it didn't take very many spins and he'd just fall on the floor. Well, then they'd laugh and laugh. So they do it again. And then they'd laugh and laugh. And then they'd do it again. Every time they did it, it was hilarious to them. And of course, it was hilarious to me too, because it was such a simple thing. It didn't take much to amuse them. And I think with all our trappings and possessions and things that a person can buy, gadgets and whatnot, we become a little bit insulated from the idea that some of the simplest things can bring us entertainment, that some of the joys that we have in life don't cost a dime and yet can bring us immeasurable pleasure. So those are the things that I think it's important to remember and focus on, because if we get away from that, then life can kind of weigh us down. So we want to be able to lift ourselves up and lift up those burdens and let them be transformed by the ether, by the universe, by whatever is out there to let go of, and then bring in all of the things that are gifts, that bring you joy, that bring you happiness, that bring you peace. So, and a lot of it these days, bless technology, because an awful lot of things that we have access to are no charge. Like the internet, you go on YouTube and you can watch just about anything you want to learn, and it's there. And somebody's done something about it. So you can connect with people that you will never meet in person, but there they are sharing information with you about something, whether it's the best banana bread recipe and how to create it, or I'm going to look up how to take out a an old hard drive out of an old computer and put it in my new one. My son tells me it's entirely possible to do that, even though I'm not a tech person. He says, "Oh, Mom, it's good to learn something new." Well, I've been resisting that, but he says, "Oh, just go on YouTube and look for the video." Okay, so I might be successful, I might not, but at some point when I feel that might amuse me to learn that, then I might just give it a shot and just see, okay. And if I'm successful, great. If I'm not, well, my son's a phone call away. I'll SOS him and say, "Get over here and help your mother." so that's the way it rolls, right? So today, on this one day before spring, I want to encourage you to just find a way to go out and kick up your heels. Just celebrate the fact that new life is growing underground, even though we can't see it. The buds are starting to form on the trees. Now, if you live in a warm climate, that may not be as big a revelation to you as it is here in Alberta, Canada, where we've had winter and snow and the ground has been frozen. So just the fact that the snow is melting and gradually spring is coming is such a welcome change for where we were over the winter. So go out and celebrate you today and celebrate whatever it is that's out there that eases your heart and gives you a sense of peace and joy and encourages you to just love every minute, because life is precious, right? At least I think it is. And we want to grab hold and just get everything out of it that we possibly can. I know you can do this. You know why? Because you're magnificent. So take on the day, take on the weekend, enjoy minute by minute. And I think you'll find your ability to cope with what's not the nicest or not the best is easier and easier. And that's the whole purpose. And then we just kind of get through life step by step and realize that we are more powerful than we ever knew. We are more magnificent than we've ever believed. So enjoy, my dear magnificent ones. I look forward to seeing you next week on Tea with Sue. This is Sue, your magnificence mentor. Until next time. Oh, and Buddy says, bye-bye for now.